Hey everybody, this is going to be entitled Driving Game Devlog number 5. The previous devlog ended on kind of a cliffhanger. I wasn't sure about the future of the game and if I was going to keep actively developing it. While I ended up starting to explore some other project ideas, even releasing a new racing game prototype called Pickup Truck What the Fuck on itch.io, I decided that I wanted to continue building Entitled Driving Game out. In this devlog, I'll talk about some of the factors that went into the decision, what's changed in the game, and what my plans are for development over the coming months. The initial reason I wanted to put aside the game was that I didn't think, and I still don't to be clear, that it would be a commercial success, and I thought that it would take a lot of effort to get it to a place where I'd even be comfortable with charging people for it. Since putting the game on the back burner and focusing on other things for a month or so, I've gained some fresh perspective on the project. Before, I was focusing a little bit too much on the hypothetical end product and my inefficiencies instead of just actively developing the game and learning as I go. This led to a lot of days where I barely got anything done because I felt like I was wasting time not building this magical end product that my skills and resources just don't currently allow for. Additionally, what I realized was that not only do I need to temper my expectations for the end product, but I need to legitimately release a finished game, or else I'll just continue this cycle of making prototypes that end up as abandoned projects with 100 views on itch. Making new projects is exciting. I've learned that it's arguably the easiest part of development and the most addictive. You're rapidly iterating while exploring fresh ideas, and you don't have to worry about anything but the core gameplay experience that you mean to present. There's not much like seeing a game idea in your head come together in playable form for the first time, but then comes the hard, and often boring, parts of making it into an actual product. Fleshing out the storylines or lore, fixing bugs and refactoring code, overhauling or contracting out the final art style, marketing and community building, adding polish, and all that other stuff. It's a lot easier to just throw up a basic project page, call it a prototype, post about it once on Twitter, and just forget about it. I'm now focused on finishing the game by setting more reasonable goals for my current skill level. I want to keep iterating on the current design and scope the project a little bit better in order to keep a clear and reachable end state. I'm still planning on keeping all the major features I've mentioned like multiplayer modes and character tricks, but I'm going to hone in on a few basic areas. Keeping the gameplay tight, ensuring the art style is basic but attractive, making good level design choices that promote flow, and concentrating on replayability. After the initial alpha release, there was a small post-release update that fixed a few small issues such as persisting settings and fixing reverse direction. Since then, I've made a handful of changes based on the feedback I've gotten, mainly around improving the vehicle feel. In the currently available build, the vehicle is very floaty and feels like it's gliding around on ice all the time. I wanted that feeling for drifting, but the vehicle needed some traction control to make it feel more like a real vehicle when just driving around regularly. Currently, drifting is tied to the left controller face button, and it allows the player to use the mechanic as a combo extender, similar to how manual works in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. One trade-off of adding more traction has been that the directional control feels a little less precise because the turning radius is noticeably larger. There's still some tweaking to do, but overall the new traction feels like a welcome addition. Another change to make the Pond feel more like a real vehicle was extending the acceleration and deceleration times. Before, the vehicle took off almost instantly from a stop to full speed. There was a small curve, but it wasn't very noticeable, partly due to the instant camera lag. The player could also reverse almost instantaneously. I've made some changes to the acceleration curve and slowed the camera lag a little so that the vehicle appears to take a second or two to fully get up to speed. It's a subtle change, but it feels better and makes the player give a little bit more thought before switching directions. I'm working on some updated engine sounds and fake gear switches that kind of add to the effect. I did spend a couple of days experimenting with a new vehicle controller using UE4's built-in simple wheeled vehicle component. Currently I'm using a static mesh setup and just lerping positions for moving parts like the wheels, but I wanted to attempt using a skeletal mesh since the vehicle physical animations are built in already. I rigged the current truck model I've been using in Blender and imported it into UE4, added the vehicle wheel component, changed some traction settings, and added some flipping force, and then I gave it a try. It was nice to have the built-in animations and the basic easy traction control to make it feel vehicle-like, but it just didn't feel right going over jumps and flipping around. The wheels and friction made the speed fall too quickly on landing, and it just couldn't maintain the same sense of speed that the current vehicle does. I'm sure I could have made it work after some weeks of tweaking, but I didn't think that it was worth it to continue down that route. I can just fake the vehicle animations on the static mesh for now, and even switch to a skeletal mesh system in the future if necessary. Speaking of visuals, I made a small change so that the vehicle wheels now fall independently when they're off the ground. It's a nice change that you notice when grinding or flipping around in the air, even if it's a little exaggerated currently. An even bigger visual change I made is adding a new vehicle. I love how it looks in game, but even better is the fact that it has separate body parts, including all 4 doors, the trunk, and the hood. This model allowed me to start prototyping new trick modifiers that the player can use to get more points. I'm still not sure of the final form of the trick list, but right now the player will be able to open all the main vehicle body parts in the air and add combo modifiers to the current tricks. I'll expand on this system next time after I've had some more time to implement and improve the mechanic. Previously, I was managing my tasks via an Asana Kanban board similar to how I've worked in the past. While this is a great model for a team environment, the longer I used it for this project, the more I started to dislike it. I'd create tickets for things that I needed to do and tasks that just kept piling up. It felt like it was removing my focus from the core of what I really needed to do. While working on Pickup Truck What the Fuck, I decided to just use a blank document and make various to-do lists that I split up into sections, usually weekly. I've done this for side projects in the past and often do it when I'm working on a separate board just to keep myself on track, but moving to this way of work really helped me narrow down and focus on specific tasks for my own projects. I choose one thing from the list and work on it at a time, not skipping around weeks. Occasionally I do move things, and I keep all the specific details in my head. I'm able to focus on the big picture task this way and micromanage the details of it in my head, which so far has worked great for me. It'll be a nightmare if anybody else joins the team, but it's also not a huge change from the Kanban style, so it'll be easy to swap between the two for solo and team projects or jobs. I've already mentioned that I want to focus on level design, tight gameplay, a basic but solid art style, and replayability, but those are more overall points of focus than specifics. Recently, I applied for some funding to take the project to a polished vertical slice state, and I laid out my 6-month plan to achieve that. Depending on the amount of content at that point, I'll make the decision to either release the game in early access, pitch it around to publishers, which is unlikely, or maybe even try crowdfunding. The plan to get there includes reworking the vehicle controller to make it feel more like a real vehicle, refactoring the project for multiplayer, working on the project's sound design, creating 2 original vehicles and characters that have slightly different stats and trick sets, finish designing and building the first level, which is going to be LATC, having a set of playable missions for the single-player campaign, and implementing some basic AI vehicles. Right now I'm focused on the vehicles section and nailing down the core gameplay and trick set. That's what I'll be working on until the next devlog. It's the most important part of the game and needs to be really solid and fun to achieve the amount of replayability I'm pushing for. Adding characters and animating tricks is going to take a large chunk of time as I need to develop a workflow and get comfortable with the whole process. I'll also have to start thinking about how architecting the vehicle for multiplayer and doing some initial testing and code rework to actually make that possible. Thanks for watching and following along with the development of Untitled Driving Game. I'll try to keep a month max between devlogs from here on out while I'm actively working on the game. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm always looking for feedback and constructive criticism to improve both the game and my devlogs. Give the early pre-alpha build a try if you haven't, like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for more regular updates on development. Links for everything will be in the description below. Later.